The movie begins with Ethan placing the casket in the movie box to view a video message from the president, who thanked him for a lifetime of devoted service. He said that if Ethan and his team had not done their work, the world might have been destroyed. It had been 35 years since the IMF saved him from life imprisonment. Though Ethan never followed orders, he always acted in their favor. The president explained that after Ethan's escape in Austria, a truth-eating AI parasite called the Entity had corrupted global digital information, spreading aggression and martial law. The Entity planned to destroy humanity and had trained loyal soldiers to infiltrate law enforcement, government, and military ranks. The only way to stop it was by finding the original source code, known only to Gabriel, whose identity had long been erased. He told Ethan that he had the key needed to find the code and urged him to help. But Ethan refused, suspecting the government might use the key for harm. The president warned that if Ethan did not cooperate and they failed, all data would be encrypted and Ethan would be blamed. The message then self-destructed. Ethan looked at the key and met with Luther and Benji in a secret tunnel. After briefing them about Gabriel, Ethan visited Paris in an Austrian prison. She recalled Gabriel's betrayal when he stabbed her and left her to die. Suddenly, 2 soldiers stunned a third one, and Paris grabbed a gun to attack, but Ethan removed his mask and stopped her. Benji did the same, and Ethan asked about Gabriel's location. He then went to a U.S. embassy gathering in London, where Benji warned him to abort due to the criminal presence. Ethan stayed, hoping to find Gabriel. 2 men recognized Ethan, but Grace intercepted them and disarmed one. She impressed Ethan by stealing a weapon unnoticed. Ethan scolded her, but she explained that Kittredge had sent her to betray him and asked about his plan. Before he could answer, guards appeared, knocked Ethan unconscious, and captured Grace. When he awoke, Ethan was handcuffed while Grace was chained. Gabriel entered with guards, and one began beating Ethan. Gabriel stopped the man and said they needed a different approach to make Ethan talk. He turned to Grace and brought up Julia, a woman Ethan once loved. Years ago, a man named Davian kidnapped her and demanded the rabbit's foot in exchange, a device also known as the anti-god. Gabriel accused Ethan of risking others to save loved ones, claiming now the entire world was in danger. He demanded the key from Ethan. Grace mentioned that Gabriel was sent by the Entity to retrieve the key on the train, but failed. Gabriel said he knew Ethan's plan to betray him, but offered to help if Ethan cooperated. When Ethan asked what he wanted, Gabriel said Ethan was searching for a missing Russian submarine, K-559 Sevastopol. Ethan recalled Benji telling him about that undetectable high-tech submarine. Its invisibility was due to Podkova, a counter-acoustic algorithm device. In 2012, the Russians discovered a digital virus in their fleet, meant to destroy Podkova, but instead, it deceived the crew into sinking it. The Entity's original source code was hidden inside the submarine's sonar sphere, unreachable even to the AI. Tampering with Podkova could cause it to self-destruct, and it could only be opened with a cruciform key. Months later, fishermen found the key beneath the ice. Now only someone like Ethan could retrieve the code. Ethan then lifted his head, revealing a false tooth capsule that would kill him in 60 seconds if bitten. Gabriel panicked, knowing he needed Ethan alive. He bit the capsule, collapsed, and white foam came from his mouth. As the guards tried reviving him, Ethan suddenly grabbed them and fought back. Ethan took the cuffs and keys, then threw the case to Grace. Gabriel told his guards he wanted Ethan alive. A fight broke out. Ethan and Gabriel took down the guards. Gabriel escaped, followed by Degas and Paris. He trapped them by locking a gate and fled. Through the bars, they spotted a device used by Gabriel to communicate with the Entity. Ethan approached it and the door opened, revealing a glowing headpiece. He lay inside and wore the mask. The machine closed and the Entity appeared in blue light, requesting access to Ethan's mind. It delivered electric shocks, forcing Ethan to speak. Ethan told it the location was the Doomsday Vault in South Africa. The Entity said this was his destiny and that the future of all life depended on it. Ethan refused, but the shocks intensified. The Entity scanned his memories, plans about the submarine, the Podkova, and a special drive from Luther meant to destroy the Entity. It warned Ethan that trying to retrieve the source code could cause a massive explosion. Suddenly, the machine opened and Ethan jumped out, gasping. Benji and Grace rushed to him. Ethan asked for a pen, then instructed Benji to lead the team north to Sevastopol. He said he had to surrender, the only way to reach their goal. He told them to steal an old plane with no GPS, transponder, or decompression chamber, and only a VHF receiver. He wrote instructions in a notebook, told Benji to send coordinates every 2 hours, and said Benji was now in charge. He warned Grace to avoid ice along every coast. Benji handed Ethan the key, and Ethan ran to Luther. At Luther's home, the nurse caring for him was killed by Gabriel, who hid nearby. Luther sensed danger, found the dead nurse, and rushed to his lab, discovering the plutonium core sabotaged. Gabriel locked the doors and told Luther to inform Ethan he'd be waiting. When Ethan arrived, Luther said he had tried everything and was now working to disarm the plutonium to prevent a citywide disaster. Gabriel had taken the poison pill, and Luther insisted Ethan chase him instead. Luther said he had to detach the detonator, which meant he would not survive, but he could still save the city. Moments later, Luther detonated the device, destroying the tunnel system. Ethan emerged and sat near several police cars, holding the key. Officers cuffed him, and Briggs took him away while another retrieved the key. Ethan told Briggs his real name was Jim, like his father, who disappeared when Ethan was 7. Ethan explained it was the entity's manipulation and asked Briggs to help him save the world, but Briggs refused. At the station, Kittredge informed Ethan that while he was escaping, the entity had gained control of nuclear systems in Russia, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. Ethan was taken into a chamber where officials listed his past alleged crimes: the CIA Black Vault breach, spy list theft, Kremlin bombing, a setup to kill him, and a gas attack on national security grounds. The president arrived, offered condolences for Luther's death, and asked Ethan what he wanted. Ethan requested the key, a ship, aircraft carriers, and the USS George H.W. Bush. An officer mocked the request, saying he was asking for a $500 million nuclear asset. Ethan told the president he also needed the ship's commander to follow all his orders. He planned to use the key to access the submarine and retrieve the source code to destroy the entity. The entity was evolving rapidly. They had only 72 hours before another attack. In 3 days, it would control the world's top security systems and destroy everything. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The UK's nuclear facility had also fallen under the entity's control. The president again asked Ethan about the key, but he said he could not talk. She ordered him detained, but instead of a cell, 2 soldiers led him to a waiting helicopter. One removed his cuffs, handed him the key, and said the president had granted him 72 hours. He also gave Ethan an envelope for Navy Commander Rear Admiral Neely. The helicopter landed on a ship, and Ethan handed the letter to the admiral, who took him aside. The admiral said the date in the letter marked the loss of someone dear to both him and the president. He warned Ethan that Russia's only aircraft carrier was nearby. Ethan's team arrived at Matthew Island and met Tapisa, who let them in. The station chief, Bill Donlow, had once worked on the Black Vault system but was dismissed after its 1986 breach. He had lived in the station for 30 years. The team told him they needed 2012 sound records to stop a global catastrophe. Bill said he could not help. Just then, soldiers stormed in. Ethan later woke up on a plane where a soldier told him they had entered Russian threat airspace. Still no signal from Ohio, and fuel was running low. They decided to wait 1 minute. Ethan jumped into the ocean and was rescued by Ohio's crew. He was given a warm shower to recover, then stood before Captain Bledsoe. Ethan told Captain Bledsoe that Rear Admiral Neely had sent her regards and handed him the necklace from the commander. When asked about his mission, Ethan said it was Bledsoe said his role was to monitor Russian submarines and pointed out a red ship on the radar, Losharik. Ethan confirmed that was the submarine tied to his mission. Bledsoe agreed to help. Back on Matthew Island, Bill told Ethan's team that he had denied possessing the requested data to the Russian soldiers, but in 2012, a team had secretly repaired the system. The backups were stored on 8-inch floppy disks in the dog shed, but he no longer had the reader device. Grace tried to convince the commander to cooperate for the world's sake, explaining the cruciform key was essential to access the source code and Podkova. Bledsoe informed Ethan that no message had been received yet, even if one had been sent. At the station, Bill searched the floppy disks and confided in Benji that the 2012 update was a cover-up. However, he knew the exact location down to the square meter. Bill started writing it down, then asked if his wife could feed the barking dogs outside, claiming he could not focus with the noise. When she came to him, he handed her the note and spoke to her in Inuktitut, telling her that the coordinates were written on it and she should be careful. Bill said someone had to accompany his wife. Grace, observing everything, volunteered to go with her because she wanted some fresh air. Commander Kolsov ordered one of the soldiers to follow them to the dog cages. Inside the submarine, Bledsoe was again attempting to scan for a message, while Ethan was practicing deep-sea breathing techniques and jogging on a treadmill to prepare. As Ethan was training, Hager approached from behind and tried to kill him, shouting that he would not let him destroy the entity. Ethan began to fight back. He rendered Hager unconscious by beating him. Meanwhile, outside, Grace went with Bill's wife to the cage to feed the dogs. When the soldier accompanying them tried to interfere, Grace attacked him to protect Tapisa. The soldier fired his gun, but Grace dodged and redirected the shot upward. Gunfire inside the house triggered a fight between Ethan's team and the Russian soldiers. Amid the chaos, a fire broke out, spreading quickly. While Benji and Paris fought the soldiers, Bill activated the transmitter to send the coordinates. As flames engulfed the house, the others escaped, but Bill stayed behind. Meanwhile, in the submarine, Ethan and Bledsoe received coordinates that were 2,000 miles off, realizing the Russians had intercepted and altered them. Though Bledsoe warned Ethan could not survive without the decompression chamber, Ethan said it was never part of the plan. Meanwhile, Grace and Tapisa traveled by dog sled. At a stopping point, Tapisa revealed the next location and let Grace continue alone. Ethan suited up for his deep-sea dive. Using the Mark 7 suit and a VHF transmitter, he had 10 minutes to retrieve the Podkova from the sunken submarine. After being dropped into the ocean, Ethan located the Podkova, but got stuck while exiting. He removed his gas tanks, pushed them through a narrow tunnel, and followed. Nearing the ice surface, the freezing water overwhelmed him, and he lost consciousness. Grace arrived just in time, pulled him out, and revived him with CPR. After taking him to the decompression chamber, she handed back the Podkova. Ethan said they now had to exchange it with Gabriel for Luther's poison pill to destroy the entity. Grace asked if the entity could be controlled instead of destroyed, believing Ethan was the only one who could do it. A rescue plane arrived. Benji warned that by the time they reached the vault, the entity would likely control the world's 9 most powerful nukes. It planned to wait before launching them, securing itself in the Doomsday Vault, a solar-powered, heavily protected facility built to outlast global collapse. To destroy the entity, they needed to insert Podkova along with Luther's poison pill to corrupt its reality. However, Gabriel had the pill and was likely already inside the vault. Benji explained that once the entity entered the drive, they'd only have 100 milliseconds to remove it before it launched a nuclear attack. Grace, being the fastest with timing, was the only one who could remove the drive in time. The team arrived at the tunnel in jeeps but found it eerily empty. At the server room entrance, Ethan told his team only Grace and Benji would join him. When the Russian girl insisted, Ethan said Gabriel's time would come later. He handed Grace a gun and asked her and Benji to leave. Inside, Ethan found Gabriel standing by a switch connected to a 30-megaton bomb. Gabriel declared he would destroy the world so the entity could no longer hide and claimed he had an undetectable plane to escape. He urged Ethan to hand over the Podkova, promising his survival, insisting it was destiny. Just as Ethan was about to hand it over, Kittredge and his men arrived, surrounding Gabriel. One of Gabriel's agents activated the bomb with a 20-minute countdown. Ethan's team was captured and brought to the vault. Kittredge asked for Ethan's plan. Ethan said he had planned to give the Podkova to Gabriel, but General Sidney refused, warning that the president was preparing nuclear strikes. Suddenly, Gabriel signaled hidden gunmen who opened fire. Ethan told Paris to shoot, but her gun was empty. Gabriel fled in a jeep. Ethan told Degas to shoot, but Gabriel escaped. Benji gave Ethan the Podkova and told him to stop Gabriel from reaching the server room. One of Gabriel's men flew another aircraft. Ethan jumped on, knocked the pilot out, and took control. Meanwhile, Bill tried to disable the bomb while Benji, wounded and suffering a tension pneumothorax, instructed Grace to hack the server and Paris to perform a medical procedure. Benji, growing weaker, told Grace to build an antenna from the tool bag to detect when Ethan applied the poison pill. He instructed her to locate and cut specific colored wires, blue and black, while warning her not to cut the red one. While the president prepared a nuclear strike, Bill told the team that cutting 3 detonator wires could delay the bomb by only 10 seconds. Grace insisted they wait to cut the final wire until Ethan completed his mission. Just as the president was about to authorize the attack, she changed her mind, ordered all missiles offline, and cut power. General Sidney warned of vulnerability, but she stood firm. One guard attacked her, but Sidney shot him before succumbing to his own injuries. Despite efforts, they failed to cut the power in time, and the entity seized control of global nuclear systems. Grace confirmed the receiver was connected. Benji instructed her to scan for the signal and insert the drive. When the receiver's red light turned green, it meant Ethan had infected the entity with Luther's algorithm. Ethan flew beneath Gabriel's plane, latched onto the landing gear, and climbed aboard. Gabriel tried to shake him off but failed. After a fight, Ethan retrieved the drive, struck Gabriel unconscious, and attached the poison pill to the Podkova midair before parachuting out. The receiver's light turned green. Grace cut the red wire. The yellow light activated, and she pulled out the drive just in time. A massive explosion occurred, followed by a global power shutdown. Grace saw the entity trapped in the glowing yellow drive. Soon after, Bill, Tapisa, and Dega arrived safely. All systems began to reboot. The president received confirmation of success. Luther's recorded message played, praising Ethan's success and faith, then self-destructed. Ethan handed the Podkova and pill to Kittredge. In the final scenes, Ethan reunited with Grace, Benji, Paris, and Degas. Grace gave him the drive containing the entity. Each member disappeared into the crowd, with Ethan blending in and vanishing last.